Assalamu alaikum. I'm Engineer Hamna Shakil. Welcome to the second online lecture of CE 117L Engineering Mechanics Lab. In today's class, we are going to discuss experiment number 3, that is to verify law of Polygon of forces. But before starting our discussion on law of Polygon of forces, I want to quickly revisit the force diagram that we were discussing in the previous lecture. So this was our force diagram that we obtained from our experimental setup in the last class. This force diagram is correctly representing both magnitude and the direction of forces. From observation, we established that all the chords of the system are under tension. So we represented these forces by arrows pointing in the outward direction. One more thing that we observed from our experimental setup was that our experimental setup was stable. It was not accelerating. If it was stable, it means that our system was in equilibrium. And when you have a system of forces in equilibrium, it means that the resultant acting on the system is equal to 0. So in our case, these three forces and their directions cancelled out each other's effect, and the resultant of the system was equal to 0. That is why everything was stable and nothing was accelerating. Our next step was to apply law of parallelogram of forces on the system. But law of parallelogram of forces is only applicable to two concurrent forces. So it means that we cannot apply law of parallelogram of forces on the whole system at once. We have to first select two forces, apply law of parallelogram on that, and then move on to the other forces. Right? So we selected these two forces and applied law of parallelogram on it. So applying law of parallelogram on the two forces, you complete a parallelogram and then you represent the resultant of the two forces by a diagonal of the parallelogram. So this will give you R. Keep in mind that this R is the resultant of W2 and W3. This is not the resultant of the whole system. This is only giving you the combined effect of W2 and W3. So this R is not equal to the resultant of the whole system. So this R is not equal to 0. Once you have found the resultant of W2 and W3, you can move on to make an equivalent diagram for this system of forces. So that's your R and that's your W1. This R is the combined effect of W2 and W3. Now if you want to find the resultant of this system, that will give you RS, because now you have W1 and you have the combined effect of W2 and W3 incorporated in this system. So this will give you the resultant of the whole system, and the resultant of the whole system has to be equal to 0 because our system was in equilibrium. The next step is to find the RS of these two forces. One thing that you can be sure about from your observation and experimental setup is that this W1 is perpendicular to a horizontal reference line, because this W1 was a freely hanging weight. So it means that W1 only has a Y component. W1 does not have any X component. If W1 doesn't have an X component, it means that this R cannot have an X component either. Because if R has any X component, there is no other force to balance it out, and we have to balance everything because from our observation of our physical system, we know that resultant of our system has to be equal to 0 because everything was in equilibrium. So you can safely say that R also only has a Y component. So both W1 and R, they both only have Y component. So again, you can safely say that they're both acting on the same line of action. So you can find the resultant by taking algebraic sum of R and W1. R is in the upward direction, so it's positive. W1 is in the downward direction, so it's negative, and it's equal to 0. So you can prove mathematically that R must be equal to W1. And you verified this by graphically solving this system of equation, and the R that you measured from your diagram, that was equal to W1. There was a small error, and that was because of error in the experimentation or due to friction in various moving parts. Okay, so coming back to our today's topic of discussion, that is experiment number 3. The objective of today's class is to verify law of Polygon of forces for a given coplanar concurrent system of forces. Coplanar system of forces means that the forces are acting in the same plane. Concurrent system of forces means that the forces are acting on a common point. So law of Polygon of forces is used to determine resultant of coplanar concurrent force system consisting of more than two forces. So this is basically the difference between law of parallelogram of forces and law of polygon of forces. Both methods are used to find the resultant of coplanar concurrent force system, but law of parallelogram is only applicable to two forces, but law of polygon is applicable to more than two forces. So let's read the statement of the law. It states that if a number of coplanar concurrent forces are represented in magnitude and direction by the sides of a polygon taken in order, then their resultant is represented in magnitude and direction by the closing side of the polygon but in opposite order. So let's understand this statement. There are two important terms used in this statement. One is in order and the other one is in opposite order. To understand these two terms, let's review head to tail rule of vector addition. Let's take a very simple example of vector addition by head to tail rule. Let's say you have two vectors having different line of action but a common point of application, and you want to find the summation of v and u. So you cannot simply take the algebraic sum of the two and find the resultant because they are both having different line of actions. To find the resultant or to find the summation of these two vectors, you can use head to tail rule. In head to tail rule, you take your first vector showing the correct magnitude of the vector and the correct direction as well. And then you take your second vector, again showing the correct magnitude and the correct direction, and you connect it with the first vector in a way that the tail of the second vector is connected to the head of the first vector. So we say that we have connected these two vectors in order. And now if you want to find the resultant of these two, you will draw a line, or you will draw an arrow that is connected tail to tail with the first vector and head to head with the last vector. So this is opposite to the order. And this will give you R, which is the sum of or the resultant of V and U, the two vectors. So V and U were the vectors that you wanted to add up. So we represent them in order. And R is the resultant or the summation of the two vectors, and we represent it in the opposite order. So head to tail rule is not only limited to two concurrent forces, it can be extended to a number of coplanar concurrent forces. So if you see this arrangement of the forces, force F1, F2, F3, F4 and F5, they're all connected in order. I'll just write head to tail, head to tail, head to tail, head to tail, and their summation or their resultant is represented opposite to the order. That is, tail is connected to the tail of the first vector and head is connected to the head of the last vector. So this is what they mean by in order and in opposite order. So all the forces that you want to sum up, they have to be arranged in order, and the resultant you have to draw it in the opposite order. Here you can see two systems of forces. Both are having 5 concurrent coplanar forces arranged in a polygon using head to tail rule. In this figure number 2, you can see that force F1 to force F5, they are connected in order, that is head to tail, and resultant R is connected opposite in the order. So this R is the summation of these 5 forces. This is the combined effect of these 5 forces. But if you see the system number 1, you'll see that there is no R. These 5 forces, when they are converted into a polygon, they form a closed polygon. There is no resultant. It means that their resultant is 0. These forces balance each other out and there is no net result. So it means that if you have a closed polygon with R equals to 0, it means that these forces are in equilibrium. So this is basically representing your equilibrium system. And in this second system, the resultant exists. It means that this system is not in equilibrium, as resultant is not equal to 0. So it will be accelerating in this R direction. Okay, let's move on and discuss these things in a little more detail. Starting with case 1, that is of coplanar concurrent forces in equilibrium. Hopefully by now you guys have an understanding of what coplanar is, what concurrent forces are, and what is meant by equilibrium. So let's say you have these 5 forces that are coplanar and are concurrent, and we have drawn these forces according to a scale, which means that the length of the line is actually representing some magnitude of the force. And all these lines are representing the correct direction of the forces as well. So all these forces are acting at a common point and we call it point of concurrency. Let's apply law of polygon of forces on this system as per head to tail rule. So starting with F1, redraw F1 in a way that you preserve both direction and the magnitude of actual F1. Then take your force F2 again preserving the magnitude and direction of F2, and connect it with F1 in a way that the head of F1 is connected to the tail of F2. Similarly, take F3, then F4, while preserving both the magnitude and direction of the forces and following head to tail rule. And then take your last force F5 and again follow head to tail rule and preserve the direction and magnitude of F5. So this is a polygon that you get, and you can see it is a closed polygon. So when you have a closed polygon, it means that resultant is equal to 0. And resultant should have been equal to 0 because our system of forces that was in equilibrium. So if you get a closed polygon, it means that there is no resultant acting on it and your system is in equilibrium. Let's move on to case 2, that is coplanar concurrent forces. Again coplanar and concurrent, but this time not in equilibrium. So let's say this is your system of forces. Again, let's apply law of polygon of forces on this system, and let's follow head to tail rule while doing that. So take your F1, preserve both direction and magnitude of F1. Then take F2 and connect it in a way that its tail is connecting to the head of the first vector. Then take F3, again preserve both magnitude and direction and follow head to tail rule. Then take F4 and then F5. So you have connected all these forces using the principle of head to tail rule and you have made a polygon. But the problem is that the polygon is not closed. So if the polygon is not closed, it means that resultant is not equal to 0. It's not in a state of equilibrium. So if you want to find the resultant of this system, you have to draw a line in opposite order. So you draw it in a way that the tail of the resultant is connected to the tail of the first vector and head of the resultant is connected to the head of the last vector. So this resultant will give you the correct magnitude and correct direction of the resultant. So our experimental setup for this experiment is quite similar to the previous one. Again, we are going to need a gravesand apparatus. We'll be needing some weight, some cord, a drawing sheet, and we are going to need frictionless pulleys. But instead of 2, we are going to use 4 frictionless pulleys that are arranged in the manner as shown in the illustration. And this is the final setup that we are aiming for. Alright, so here's the procedure and precautions of the experiment. I'm not going to read it from here. I have uploaded these slides on Google Classroom. You can go there and read the procedure yourself. I'm going to explain the steps of the procedure. Right. The first is you have to take your gravesand apparatus having 4 frictionless pulleys and you have to make this arrangement. This is your final setup. So take your gravesand apparatus and attach the cords as you can see on the screen. At the end of the cords you have to attach either hooks or weight or pans that are used to hold the weights. Then you have to attach weights at the end of the cords and you have to keep on adding and subtracting the weights till your system becomes balanced. Once everything is at rest, then you can move on. So if everything is at rest, it means that your system is now in equilibrium, right? So you have to keep on adding and subtracting these weights till your system becomes equilibrium, till this whole system comes to rest. Then you have to observe your system and see the effect of these weights in these cords. So if you observe it carefully, you can see that all these weights are stretching the cords. All the cords are being stretched. If all the cords are being stretched, it means that they are under tension. So this is how weight 1 is affecting the cord, This is how weight 2 is affecting the cord, and the magnitude of force in this cord, that would be weight 2. Because we know that pulley only changes the direction of the force, it does not affect the magnitude. Similarly, this is how W3 affects the cord. So you'll have a magnitude of W3 here. Similarly, you'll have a magnitude of W4 here, and you will have a magnitude of W5. So all these weights are stretching the cords, all the cords are under tension. So you have to now trace this part of the system. We are going to isolate this part of the system and draw its free body diagram. For that, you have to take a pencil and you have to start tracing the chords on the drawing sheet. Once you are done with tracing the chords, you can take your drawing sheet off of the wooden board and you'll get your space diagram. And here you can see the direction of these forces. These are pointing in the outward direction. Because we established that all the cords are under tension, they are being stretched, and we represent tension by arrows pointing in the outward direction. Okay. Keep in mind that this is a space diagram. It is only representing the correct line of action. It is not correctly representing the magnitude of these weights. So you have to convert this space diagram into force diagram, which will be representing both the magnitude and the direction of these weights. For that, let's say this is our data from our experiment. We know the magnitude of all the weights. You have to select a scale based on the space available on your sheet, and you have to convert all these magnitudes of weights into length. After that, you have to convert this diagram into a force diagram in which we are going to preserve the direction by drawing parallel lines, and we are going to use these lengths to represent magnitude of the forces. So let's start with W1, and hopefully by now you have a very clear understanding of what we are doing right now, because we did the same procedure in experiment 1 and also in experiment number 2. So you have to draw a line parallel to W1, and you can use your set square for that. So here's the procedure to draw a line parallel to W1, and the length of this line must be 2.5 centimeters. That is actually representing 0.5 pounds as per your scale. So you got W1. Similarly, you have to do the same thing for W2. And the length of the W2 is 4 centimeter. That is representing 0.8 pounds as per your scale. Right? So repeat the process for W3, W4 and W5. So this will give you your force diagram. Now this diagram is correctly representing both magnitude and the direction of the forces. So this is the force diagram that we got from our experimental setup. Let's see the characteristics of this system of forces. These 5 forces are coplanar. They're acting in the same plane, and these 5 forces are concurrent, means they are acting on a common point. So you can now apply law of Polygon of forces on this system, because law of Polygon is applicable to coplanar and concurrent forces, and this is a system of forces that are coplanar and concurrent. Right. So you can rearrange these forces into a polygon. And to rearrange this into a polygon, you have to keep three things in mind. First is you have to keep the same magnitude. Do not change the length of these forces, because this is a force diagram. They are already representing the correct magnitude. You have to keep the same direction. The lines that you draw, they must be parallel to the lines in the force diagram, and you have to follow head to tail rule. Right. One more thing that you can safely say about this system of forces is that this system of forces is in equilibrium. When things are in equilibrium or a system is in equilibrium, it means that resultant is equal to 0. And we can say that this is in equilibrium because when we observed our experimental setup or when we were tracing our space diagram, everything in our experimental setup was stable and was at rest. So if everything was at rest, it means that the resultant on the system was 0. Everything was in equilibrium. So our system was in equilibrium. So the resultant of this system of forces must be equal to 0. And if the resultant is equal to 0, it means that the polygon must close. So let's convert this into a polygon, and by now you guys know how to convert a force diagram into a polygon. So let's start with W1, W2, right? So you are connecting them in order, that is you are connecting them using the law of head to tail. Once you are done converting your system of forces into a polygon, you'll see that your polygon isn't closing. As per your description of the system was in equilibrium, the resultant must have been equal to 0 and polygon should have closed. But here you'll see that your polygon is not closing. It means that there is some error in your work. So this error, this unclosed distance, may be because of any error in the experimentation or may be because of the friction in various moving parts, like friction in the frictionless pulleys. We were assuming that the pulleys are frictionless, but that is an ideal situation when the pulleys are frictionless. In real world, you cannot have a pulley that is frictionless. There will be some amount of friction in that. So this is how you will represent the final result of your experiment. You'll represent the error by drawing a line opposite to the order, that is you'll connect tail of this line to the tail of the first vector and head of this line to the head of the last vector. So this will represent your error and this whole figure will represent the final result of your experiment.